Amid escalating strikes on Iranian territory, a high-level diplomatic channel has opened between Moscow and Tehran. At the initiative of the Iranian side, Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov held a telephone conversation with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on February 28th. Tehran briefed Moscow on steps taken by the Iranian leadership to repel what it described as US and Israeli aggression, accusing Washington and Tel Aviv of once again disrupting negotiations on a peaceful settlement of the Iranian nuclear issue. During the call, the Iranian side announced plans for the urgent convening of the United Nations Security Council. Lavrov condemned what he called an unprovoked armed attack by the United States and Israel, saying it violated the principles and norms of international law and ignored grave consequences for regional and global stability. Russia has issued a blistering condemnation after the United States, and Israel launched airstrikes on Iranian territory early Friday morning. In a strongly worded statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation described the operation as a premeditated and unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign UN member state. Moscow says the scale and nature of the military political preparations leave no doubt that the attack was planned in advance and carried out in violation of international law.
The scale and nature of the military, political, and propaganda preparations preceding this reckless step, including the deployment of a large military group of the USA in the region, leave no doubt that we are talking about a premeditated and unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign and independent member state of the UN, in violation of the fundamental principles and norms of international law.
The Kremlin has framed the strikes as reckless escalation, warning that the region is being pushed toward what it calls a humanitarian, economic, and possibly radiological catastrophe. Russia argues that bombing nuclear facilities operating under safeguards of the International Atomic Energy Agency is unacceptable and risks undermining the global non-proliferation regime anchored in the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. According to Moscow, the American-Israeli tandem is ignoring the consequences for regional stability.
Washington and Tel Aviv have once again embarked on a dangerous adventure, which is rapidly bringing the region closer to a humanitarian, economic, and possibly radiological catastrophe. The aggressors' intentions are clear, and they are openly declaring them: to destroy the constitutional order and eliminate the leadership of an undesirable state that refused to submit to military dictatorship and hegemony.
In one of its strongest accusations, Russia says the responsibility for any chain reaction of violence will lie entirely with the United States and Israel. The statement warns of unpredictable consequences and a spiral of escalation that could engulf the wider Middle East. Moscow argues that such actions could ultimately encourage countries across the region to pursue stronger deterrent capabilities, calling on the international community, including the United Nations, to deliver an objective and uncompromising assessment. Russia has demanded an immediate return to political and diplomatic negotiations. The Kremlin says it remains ready to assist in finding peaceful solutions based on international law, mutual respect, and balance of interests. But with military strikes underway and tensions surging, the warning from Moscow is clear. The Middle East may now be standing at the edge of a far more dangerous escalation. Russia has reacted sharply to the reported US-Israel strikes on Iran, Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev accused Washington of disguising military intent behind diplomatic engagement. In a blistering message, he questioned the credibility of American negotiations with Tehran.
The peacemaker has once again shown his true colors. All the negotiations with Iran are a cover-up operation. No one ever doubted that. No one really wanted to negotiate anything significant anyway.
Medvedev's remarks signal Moscow's deep distrust of Washington's role in West Asia. By calling diplomacy a facade, he suggests the talks were merely strategic camouflage before strikes. The statement reinforces Russia's narrative that the United States uses negotiations as leverage, not resolution. He then reframed the crisis as a civilizational contest, invoking history to underline endurance and patience.
The question is, who has more patience to wait for the inglorious end of their enemy? The USA has only existed for 249 years. The Persian Empire was founded more than 2,500 years ago. Let's see in about 100 years.
The message is unmistakable. Moscow is aligning rhetorically with Tehran and portraying this confrontation as a long-term geopolitical struggle rather than a short-term military escalation. As tensions deepen in West Asia, Russia is signaling that it sees the battle not just in bombs and missiles, but in endurance and history.